Hello everyone, it's Nick Lawson with CDC Take Charge Software, and today we are looking at using SuperControls, ActiveX Objects, and xBasic to take and enhance your forms and applications designed in Alpha software. Now at the end of our last session I said we would look at ActiveX Objects, and to be honest with you, a supercontrol is actually an ActiveX object that Alpha Software has modified or changed what you as a developer can pass to the supercontrol to perform the specific function it's designed for. Now that makes programming of the supercontrol much easier than if you were actually using an ActiveX, where you have all kinds of functions and things to look at and concern yourself with. Let's look at what we got going on the form in regards to that. Now this form is pretty busy. You wouldn't necessarily do all this stuff on a single form because it would use a lot of resources on your machine. But with that said, the machine that you're seeing this on is actually a very old machine running Windows XP, and even though this was designed on Windows 7 in 10.5, it runs very well back on this machine. A credit to Alpha Software. Now, what we have first is a navigational supercontrol. It's pretty straightforward. It allows you to navigate the records in the underlying table that the control is pointing to. Here, we have an embedded X dialog, which again is a browse view of the records in the underlying table, but it could be an external table if I want. Down below that, we have a web URL browser supercontrol that we're using as an explorer by pointing to the local drive instead of a web address. And I'll explain how that's done as we get further into the session. Over here, we have a window conditional object that allows us to see either an explorer, which again, which is just like this, a media player, which is a ActiveX object directly, a file viewer, and a report viewer. Now, the difference between these two is that the report viewer shows values from reports for records in a table. And again, we'll show that in just a second. The file viewer is taking the PDF viewer and moving it up another step by allowing you to look at all kinds of files. So let's start by looking at our Explorer. Our Explorer, designed this way, allows you to do all the file utility functions that you would do in Windows. You have your copy, your cut, your paste, your rename, your send to, your virus scanning, anything that you can do in your Windows application can be done in your Explorer shell because it is a Windows application. So that takes all the other utility stuff that you do, looking at zip files and opening and closing and extracting and copying and moving and directory controls. It all goes away. You can just do it right here exactly as if you're in Windows. If we want to take and use the file viewer, let's take and go over there. Now right now it's blank because we're not pointing to a file. So if I go down here to my temp folder and open it up, okay, here I have a text file. So we're going to take and send that to our viewer. There you go. Now this text file, as you can see, it's called ActiveX Options, basically shows you the different variables that I'm using, which I can call from the ActiveX object and pass the variables within Alpha Software to take and control, using xBasic, the objects on the screen. And it starts with ActiveX and then down to document and then folder self, folder parent folder self, focused items, and that's really, for the examples I'm using, that's all the variables that I need. So that's pretty cool. But that's not all that we can view over here. Again, like I said, we can do other file types as well. So let's go look at some of those. We're going to go to Take Charge Suite and Documents. Let's start by looking at an HTML file. So we select it, send to viewer. There it is. So any HTML that you're developing or using, you can view right over here and then open the one you want and do the work on in Alpha Software. A PDF file. We'll select it and send to viewer. Taking a second to refresh. Let's send it again. There it is. As I mentioned, we're using a lot of juice doing this because we got so much going on. So forgive my machine for its a little lag there. So there it is, and it's in a PDF file. Now, all that's cool. Let's look at the media player. Oh, by the way, you can also do images. So if I select like a PNG image and I send it to the viewer, there you go. And they'll show in their actual size and so forth and so on. All right, let's look at the media player. If I go to the media player and I come back here and go back, I want to send a movie. So this is a Halloween thing I do every year for the kids in the neighborhood. Send it to viewer and then click play. And away it goes. Pretty cool. Finally, let's look at the report viewer. We come over here now. The report viewer is looking at the selected record in our table. Let's say I want to take and look at the first record in our table. So I use my navigator control. There it is. And now this table, underlying table, has 56,000 records in it. So let's say I want to look at the last record and send it to our report viewer. There it is. That does not take any time at all. The other thing that's really exceptional about this, as you guys know that have been following along, I do not include the Alpha Software or wrapper or control panel with the applications that I create. So in order to preview reports, I would have to convert them to some other format and view them externally. Now, using this SuperControl, I don't have to do that. Where is that cool? Let's say you are building a code library that you keep in text files on your machine. So you set up a table that points to your text files, you call them out, you could have a description over here of what it does, and you could have it preview an image of how it looks when the code is executed. You find the one that you want to use in the next application you're doing, and then you can take and use your form over here to actually open it, copy the code out, and send it to your code writer. Very cool. And an easy way for you to take and keep track of all the crazy stuff that you do when you're developing in Alpha Software. Now, there is a lot that we have looked at here, and would take way too long for me to explain all the underlying code that makes this happen for the SuperControls and the xBasic. So if you go to our blog, which is at cdctakecharge.wordpress.com, this will all be laid out in our session report, which should be up later today or tomorrow. And you can copy the code, use it as you want. It's all free to you guys. Once again, I'd like to thank you for stopping by. I know your time is important to you. You have plenty of viewing options, so we appreciate you taking the time to look at our work. Thanks again, and have a great day.